The apocalypse, Judgment Day, the end of the world. It all sounds so horribly depressing, doesn't it? Yet people can't stop imagining these doomsday scenarios. These stories come again and again in the form of movies, TV series, video games, and the most important medium of all, books. Hi, I'm Melissa and I'm a librarian here at Public Library Singapore. Pop culture's obsession with the end of the world leads me to ask this question. Why are post-apocalyptic stories so popular and why can't people get enough of it?
I have 3 theories on why we might be so obsessed with the complete final destruction of the world and what comes after it.
Theory 1. A warning for worse things to come. Most storylines in post-apocalyptic fiction act like a thought experiment for imaginations to go wild and think of the worst-case scenarios. How would our world end? Let me count the ways. It could be a man-made catastrophe, the consequence of rapid advancements in science and technology that eventually get out of hand. A novel that pursues the idea of nuclear warfare to its apocalyptic conclusion is On the Beach by Nevil Shute. It is set in a reality where World War III has occurred, with hundreds of atomic bombs deployed and most living creatures wiped out. As the deadly radiation cloud from the fallout slowly approaches Australia, there is a subtle hopelessness as the characters try to keep their chin up and live their lives normally. However, it becomes evident that painful death by radiation poisoning is inevitable, and you watch as the characters spiral into despair and become more reckless with their lives. The apocalypse could also come about in the form of a deadly disease. As a species, we have gone through cycles of pandemics throughout our history. Our increased interconnectivity through globalization then makes the spread of viruses happen almost overnight. World War Z by Max Brooks bases its central premise on an imaginary pandemic, a zombie outbreak. The story tracks the progress of the mysterious disease as it spreads across the globe, its journey enabled by the ease and density of modern travel. As the reader, you are given a glimpse of life during a zombie apocalypse through a dizzying array of human perspectives from various walks of life and circumstances. Theory 2. A look into the human condition. Now that we have our apocalyptic setting, let us look at our survivors and consider how they would react in the end of times, what they would choose to prioritize. When societal rules become irrelevant, would you continue to play by the rules of the old world? In the face of possible annihilation, post-apocalyptic fiction tends to remind people about where they should be placing importance in their lives. The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey opens to a classroom of students. This seems normal enough, except that all the children are strapped down to their chairs, with soldiers pointing their guns at them. Also, these children are zombies. In the hopes of finding a cure to the pandemic, these kids have been captured and are being used in experiments. This interesting premise allows us to question who the real monsters are. Is it the zombie girl who is trying to suppress her instincts and help the humans get to safety? Or is it the humans who treat her heartlessly, like a test subject? When dealing with the human condition, we cannot forget the quintessential post-apocalyptic book, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. It tells the story of a father and his son just trying to survive in the aftermath of an apocalyptic disaster. The characters barely avoid starvation and are almost killed by survivalists executing their version of the law. This book really makes you think, what would I do in that scenario? Theory 3. Imagining new worlds. Ever catch yourself feeling hopeless about the current state of affairs? What if you could press a reset button to change the way things work? Post-apocalyptic fiction lets you reimagine a different kind of society. Strangely, in that end state, the potential for change can be uplifting. There are beautiful qualities of humankind that reveal themselves during times of upheaval, qualities such as persistence, perseverance, and empathy. Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel tells the story of the collapse of modern human society due to a fast-spreading and deadly flu. This is not your typical action-packed post-apocalyptic novel. Instead, people are finding ways to get used to a new normal with a sudden lack of technology and electricity and are simply trying to survive. One of the main storylines follow a nomadic Shakespeare troupe as they travel between settlements, performing plays and music. It goes to show that the arts, rather than becoming redundant or irrelevant to our survival, instead becomes essential expressions of our humanity. And now, introducing not just one book but 3, the Net Atom Trilogy by Margaret Atwood records the immediate aftermath of a gruesome disease that wipes out humankind. Both natural and genetically modified animals have reclaimed their position at the top of the food chain. The main characters have to deal with these new predators, other hostile survivors, as well as a new species of artificially created perfect humanoids. Despite all these challenges, this new world order allows survivors a chance at building a new life by living on their own terms.
Plenty of post-apocalyptic novels written decades ago have in recent times come eerily close to becoming fulfilled prophecies. It's just that the post-apocalyptic genre lends itself so well as a setting for writers to play around with real-world problems and take it to the extreme. And in imagining the consequences of such a reality, we also have to think about how people will act and react in it, and oftentimes it's not that pretty. While predictions of the future may seem bleak, these stories carry within themselves a message of hope, where the survivors can build a new and possibly better place.